Now it's movie of the week. So this has been our superhero month where we've looked at animated movies about superheroes, such as we did Planet Hulk, Flashpoint Paradox, and Mask of the Phantasm. Is it Mask or Mask?
Mask of the Orgasm.
Mask.
It's Mask of the Orgasm, actually.
Whatever. So, to finish this month off, we're doing an adaptation of a Superman comic called All-Star Superman, written by Grant Morrison and drawn by Frank Quitely. And the plot of the movie and the book is Superman is finally beaten by Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor tricks Superman into flying too close to the sun, and this overcharges his cells and makes him incredibly powerful. But he's told that his cells are now dying and he's only got a certain amount of time to live. So the film chronicles his journey through about a year as he does his final feats of his career and, you know, kind of about his legacy, like what's going to happen to him after he's gone. Well, after the world after he's gone. So, thoughts everybody, 5 words or less. You want to go first, George?
I want to go last, actually.
Okay. Carson?
Well, I just want to preface my comment by saying I haven't watched it in a while.
Old Curtis.
Yeah, I didn't watch it this week, but I have seen it. So my 5 words would be real good Superman movie.
Real good Superman movie. How fucking insightful.
Yeah, the Shakespeare of our time.
They call me the Bard.
They call you the...
Probably a really good movie.
So you pulled a curtain as well.
Yeah.
Good comic, boring movie.
Boring movie, okay.
I liked it because it was written by Dwayne McDuffie.
Alright, kind of run over there slightly.
The one of the 2 films that erased dentist.
That what? Is dentist?
Oh,
He said
come
one.
on.
He said one. He
The
said
The
one
final
of
Adventure Time episode of this week. They
he said
still
one
Adventure Time.
one of the 2 films that erased Dentist. Is that long enough?
Okay, alright.
Yep.
I'm not going to say anything silly. I'm just going to say I think this is the best Superman adaptation that I've seen, definitely. So, there's some very mixed opinions. So I really like this movie, but some people aren't so keen on it. So perhaps we'll start off with talking about maybe the plot. So, what do we all think of the plot? George, you weren't so keen.
The most random fucking mess of a plot I have seen in years.
Okay, why would you say that then?
I mean, I get the point of it is that it's supposed to be showing his like you said, it's supposed to be showing his last deeds on Earth before he blows away. But even then, most of the time it's just there's no context given to, there's no segue or context given to what his actions are. Like 1 minute he's helping Lois Lane with the serum, giving Lois Lane her birthday present of having her powers for 24 hours. Then 1 minute, the next minute he's fighting over these 2 guys who want her hand in. The next minute there's Krypton. There are people from Krypton who are slowly dying. He has to send them out to the Phantom Zone. And he's
Okay, I can kind of get what you mean by that. Proto.
Gio has a point. The plot, some things in the plot is kind of a mess, but it's not. But compared to what I have seen before I see the movie, I'll take it. I'll take it any day.
Okay. I mean, for me, I can see how you mean. Like the plot is a little bit disjointed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, I'll tell you. Firstly, because it's based on the comic itself is sort of episodic. It's each one, like Superman has a problem, and then the overarch is kind of Lex Luthor a little bit, and also showing how he gets he starts off so high, but then he just gets weaker and weaker, and eventually the illness becomes the foreground of the plot, what's going on. Yeah. So that's what it had to base itself on and trying to include the elements. I will admit that maybe it didn't do it as well as it could have. Maybe it could have cut some shit out and focused more on some stuff. But for what it is, the way I imagine it is sort of like the 12 labors of Hercules or 10 labors of Hercules. How many of there were?
There are 12.
11, 12, something like that. Yeah.
I don't know. So that's what.
12, because I recently watched the Hercules movie starring Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yeah. So it's more about how Superman faces these challenges. It's sort of like this is like the hardest things he's had to do in his whole life.
Yeah, like
challenged mentally and physically, and
All-Star Superman is really a character study of Superman.
yeah.
It like by definition, it just kind of like places the character in different situations, and we see how he reacts and how it affects him. It's really not so much about the plot and like cause and effect as it is just the character himself.
Yeah, exactly.
That's actually a good point.
Ryger, I know you read the comic. I mean, I purchased the comic. I've got it downstairs, but I hadn't had time to read it. To me, at the moment, it seems there's a lot of extra stuff going on in there that isn't in the adaptation.
Yeah, I think what the movie producers are trying to do is trying to incorporate as much of the comics as it can into the movie, but it ended up being a bit of, like as George said, a bit of a mess because one minute or two Superman was doing one thing, then the next minute he's done another, with no cohesive I forgot the word. Something like moving from one image to another without in a very smooth motion.
Transition.
Yeah. What George said. So, and that was a bit messed up. Also, I think it's also my fault because when I watch All-Star Superman, I really couldn't enjoy this version of Superman, in part because of the New 52, which pretty much a completely brand new continuity. And everything that's in the past has been pretty much been erased, at least until next year, when the Convergence arc comes in, where the Superman of the past eras will be coming back. But going back to All-Star Superman, again, the problems is that both the comics and the movie were made before the New 52 arc began, so it's set into that era. At the same time, the All-Star line, from what I've gathered, it was created in a sense wherein the writers for these comics were able to do whatever they want with the DC characters.
Yeah, it's completely separate
without affecting much of the continuity.
It's not. They said it's non-canon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's non-canon. So for that very reason, for those reasons, I'm having a hard time enjoying this. I guess because I want to see Superman at least have some form of connection to the DC universe in general.
I mean, there was a little bit, like he mentioned Batman dressed up for him, and if you notice when he walks into the Fortress of Solitude, that's kind of like a giant chess mat kind of thing, and you can see Batman.
Right.
I think I enjoy it more because it is not connected. Because they can do whatever they want with him, and they're not kind of indentured in all this like continuity and stuff. They can kind of just sky's the limit kind of.
I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing that I have on the other hand is that because this is a non-continuity and that it's focused entirely on the Superman lore and doesn't extend too much to the rest of the DC universe.
Mm-hmm.
So we're pretty much stuck with that, and you don't have to go so far as to go beyond the Superman lore. It's kind of like Spider-Man is better off being Spider-Man in his own world without ever meddling with the Avengers, because Spider-Man is a street level hero. He only deals with street villains. He doesn't deal with cosmic villains or anyone the likes of the likes of Thor or Iron Man's villains. He's better off fighting the Green Goblin than Thanos. Superman is All-Star Superman's a bit like that. He doesn't have to worry about any of the villains from the DC universe that could bring him down, but focus entirely on his dealings with all of the enemies that are exclusive to the Superman series. Now,
Yeah, I agree.
so that's perhaps the good part that I actually liked. But going back to why I didn't like it as much is that another reason why I didn't like it that much is because despite the fact that the movie does show the mortality of Superman as he is dying, what the movie fails to provide is to provide, despite that mortality, is to have a character that would stand up to Superman to test his mortality. Instead, we just go back to Lex Luthor just using his brains and having these other villains take care of him, rather than have this one villain that would not only push Superman's strength to the limit, but would also push his mortality to the limit. In other words, I would have preferred to have a villain similar to Doomsday somehow popping up, in which now Superman has this problem wherein he's dying, and now he has to face this thing that would eventually kill him, speeding up the process. But no, instead that was not the case. So that was one of the two major things I didn't like about the movie.
Someone else want to jump in? George?
I kind of agree with that point. I really wish they actually kept up with the idea. Like, just again, my biggest problem with it is that it just won't focus on one thing for more than about 10 minutes. It's just always jumping from one thing to the other to do like a point that Ryoga brought up, like the 12 heroic acts of Hercules. I think they're trying to do that, but it just doesn't work because I think it's really, really fucking short is the thing also. It's like, yeah, I know a good amount of the DC, the movies we did this week were around at least under 80 minutes, under 90 minutes. But even then, like, this was really, really, it also tries to keep a fast pace when it comes to it all. So it's very disjointed and trying to keep focus on one specific plot point. Like, the only consistent plot that's in it is the Lex Luthor plot that goes through it. Even then, it just kind of comes and goes every now and then.
Alright. Proto?
I kind of agree with Ryoga on this one. It would have been cool to see Doomsday back again in the animated film, because after Superman Doomsday, nobody pretty much mentioned him. And in the comics, Doomsday is a big force to deal with. Hell, we're talking to one of the creatures that can take down the Justice League one-handedly. I just kind of wish that they could have bring an enemy in the worthy of Superman.
Well, I mean, to be honest, I see what you guys are getting at, but it's exactly like Carson said, it's more of a character study. So that's why they made Lex Luthor the main antagonist of the whole thing, and at the end, like a fist fight with him. Because it's kind of like his final obstacle that he's always been against. And not to mention, not only that, but they're so perfectly opposite. So even though Superman is an alien, like he's an immigrant from outer space, he's more human and kind than Lex Luthor, who is human, who is, you know, the worst of humanity. So that's, I think Superman does not have the same relationship with Darkseid or Doomsday. They're just more physical adversaries. They don't share the such like opposing kind of dichotomy with their characters.
Yeah, I think having Lex Luthor as the main antagonist kind of creates a more intimate story.
Right. Yeah.
And
yeah,
which I enjoy.
Yeah, and I don't see how it with the plot how it would work having Doomsday in, really. Otherwise, you know, he could do something really cheesy like, you know, Doomsday's beating the shit out of him, and then he's like, then he dies, turns to energy, and then gets a big explosion. You know, that would be kind of cheesy to me. I like the idea that he beats Lex Luthor not just by, you know, physically subduing him, but makes him realize the error of his ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you would not get that with Doomsday or Darkseid.
Yeah.
Huh, good point.
And oh shit, I was about to say. Oh yeah, and I liked how they had Superman kind of visiting Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
I thought it was I don't know. I liked it. It was kind of fun to see them interact.
Yeah. Let's delve into the characters a bit, because I'll tell you why I think this is the best version of Superman. I mean, no matter what you think of like the plot, guys, you have to admit, this version of Superman, he's very humble, very kind, and you can see just how like in tune he is with the environment. I haven't seen any other Superman exhibit this quality. And also, he's kind of flawed in a way, because you can see him get angry. You know, he's not just like a Boy Scout as usual. You can see like the inner demons he's sort of battling with, because it would be quite easy for him, just like, you know, like with Atlas. Atlas was being a dick. Superman could have easily just like punched him into the outer solar system, but he chooses not to.
Yeah.
I'm kind of tying into that a little bit. I don't want to get into the art, but his look, I like the smaller cape on him. It does make him seem more humble than other more maybe heroic designs, you know, with the long flowing red cape. What do you guys think?
I definitely agree about the whole character thing. The only real thing I really don't like about the Superman in this movie is that his fucking face is terrifying! Seriously, how can anyone look at that guy and not be terrified? That is some of the worst facial design I've seen in years!
Really? Does anybody else agree?
I
Sylvia?
think is it just me? I don't know. I believe I could be wrong, but I believe the character designs for that is almost like it's done by Peter Chung, who did the. If you don't know who that guy is, he's the creator of MTV's Eon Flux series.
Oh
yeah. When I saw the designs, it actually did remind me of Peter Chung's art. So I didn't get to see the credits, so I didn't know if he's the character designer for that one. So design-wise, it's not surprising for me to see Superman having that Peter Chung look. But then again, it's like what you said, Jack, that we're supposed to see this Superman being this humble and facing this dilemma of mortality that for once he's having. Considering, let me try to add to that for the most part, all the way up to this point with the All-Star Superman, despite being a non-canon, but prior to that, Superman is basically a god. So to actually see this one down to earth with having a god that is dying, having this mortality, and like what Carson said, it's more like a character study of how this humble god sees himself now that he's dying, and then you have this character design that's more associated with Eon Flux. It's sort of a weird mix, so to speak.
Yeah.
Okay. We might as well just talk about the art design now. Then we've got some stuff to say about it. I would say as one of the cape thing I said and everything. The comics is actually kind of more kind of out there with some of the design. Like for example, the professor at the start who wears the purple coat. In the comics, I've only had like a brief read, but it's like kind of rainbow coloured and everything. So I think for the movie, they've made a very good compromise between typical comic style that's really nice and colourful, and making it not too silly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the red underwear outside, it's there, but it looks less like underwear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I like that Superman isn't like too like ripply in his muscles.
Yeah.
Like he's obviously muscular, but it's more like groups of muscles rather than like individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually a little glad that he wasn't that muscular. There was a Justice League film that featured him, Batman, and Power Girl as the main protagonists, and they have all these big muscles. And I was like, what the hell are these people doing?
Yeah.
Why do they have so buff muscles? They were someone are telling me that that's actually how it was portrayed in original comics, that it's like a fantasy of muscular, but even that seems to be over the top.
Public Enemies, right? That's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the comic, they're like ridiculously jacked. Like, but yeah, in All Star Superman, in the comics too, it's more like bulgy rather than like defined muscle, and I like that.
Yeah,
I
like
guess
that a lot.
it kind of gives that like humble look to him.
Yes, exactly. I don't know why Georgie had like a problem with the face. I thought the face was absolutely fine.
It's just
It's definitely different, I would say.
To me, it was just jarring. The whole I didn't expect that. Like, I didn't know anything going into this, and then when I finally just saw it, I was just like, Jesus. Because I also think
it's the fact that his features are very like close together, and he has a very large chin.
Yeah, exactly.
And-
but I think it's fine.
I don't know. Personally, I am a fan of Ian Flux. I did like Peter Chung's work in Ian Flux, and he also did another series, which is in Japan called Alexander, which is an animated take on Alexander the Great. And I don't know. I think he did a few things on the Matrix shorts, animated shorts. So he did that as well. So it's not that I didn't like his Peter Chung. I love his work. It's just that I just find it a bit strange to have his style of artwork featured in something such as this.
All right. Does anyone else want to jump in? That's like not really said much, like Curtis or Charlene or whoever.
Sure, I'll jump in. Oh,
Yeah.
you go first.
I don't have
Okay.
anything to say, so.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't even know about this movie until you guys suggested it, but I do own the All-Star Superman comic series. So, I just watched it today, so it was sort of an interesting take because I read the comics a long time ago, and I remember there were 12, right? Were there 12?
Yes, 12.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I liked it. I liked it a lot. Like I said, I was kind of biased at first but then I saw that it was written by Dwayne McDuffie, who did Static Shock. Have any of you guys seen Static Shock?
A little bit.
I do.
Static Shock and Justice League Unlimited, and he did Ben 10 too. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a shot, and I did like it. And about the plot, like you guys said that you had some issues with the complexity of the plot. I mean, I don't know. I think I would have to side with Jack on this one. Like, I really, really liked it, and I don't see. I mean, I don't know. It's hard. I can't remember who made that point. I just feel like while the plot was good, they were trying to sort of bring in every element from each of the comic books into that and trying to tie it in. Am I the only one that felt that way?
Kinda.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I would, if I were to rate it over a 10, I would give it like a 7.5.
I would agree with Shalani on this one. If I were to give it a rating from 1 to 5, I'd probably give it a 3. I mean, the character development of Superman is good, and I like the humility. But the pacing and the execution of the plot line is a bit off and not consistent. I hate to compare it with Hercules starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because as you guys said, this is similar to the 12 Tasks of Hercules, in which I hate to compare it with. Again, I don't want to compare it, but it comes into play here because in the Hercules movie starring The Rock, the 12 tasks are mentioned in a subtle text, and the only thing in the 12 tasks that were actually displayed on screen is the final task, which would ultimately lead to Hercules' downfall. And I kind of wish, in the case of All-Star Superman, where if it's not going to at least have a villain that would test Superman's ability to the limit and shows how mortal he is, at least put him on a focus more on his mortality and his humility towards Lois and humankind, and then do the ultimate sacrifice as this big grand finale thing. But in this case, where the big grand thing is just stopping Solaris and then taking on Lex Luthor at the very end, where even that confrontation seems pale in comparison to his battle with Solaris. It seems a bit off to me. So for that reason, I'll also put as my closing argument. I would give it a 3 out of 5.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
Well, I feel like out of all the Superman movies I've seen, the connection he had with Lois, I feel, was shown the strongest in this one. I just felt it more than in any of the other Superman movies I've seen. I don't know why.
I think that might be because since this is more centered on the fact that, one, he's getting more intelligent because of the Master's blood cells and the amplification of his powers, and two, it is his last year on Earth, and it's the last thing he's going to be doing with her. So it makes sense that the relationship would feel a lot more genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As opposed to like stuff like I hate to use a criticism like this, but I even though I really liked it, as opposed to like something like Man of Steel, where you only see the relationship in like a couple of key moments, whereas the rest of the movie is focused more on the central plot. I think this can also apply possibly to the Christopher Reeve Supermans, but I haven't seen. I haven't really seen any of them, but I think that kind of the same criticism happens a little bit. But I think, though, it's mostly because this was more... Why it works a little bit better here is because it focuses a lot more on it, because it's the last thing he'll do with her. He wants to be impressed. He wants to impress her. He wants to make her happy and give a good last impression for her.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm a pretty big Superman fan. He's probably one of, if not my favorite superhero. And so being able to see him kind of in this more intimate setting, in this character study, was really nice for me. Even if the plot doesn't necessarily make the most sense. It's nice to see him in all of these different situations and see him react in different ways. This was actually a contributing factor into my love of Superman.
Not to go into circles about, what we've already talked about, the plot and everything. Let's go on to talk about the voice acting and see what we think about it. So, some of the voice credits in this show, movie, James Denton voices Superman. If you don't know him, he plays a character in Desperate Housewives. I'm not too familiar with him. I don't think he's a particularly famous actor, but he's got quite a long repertoire. Anthony LaPalga voices Lex Luthor. Anthony LaPalga. Not sure. He's now kind of a small-time TV actor. Something interesting you may not have picked up on. Edward Asner voices Perry White. If you don't know who he is, he voiced the main character in Up.
Oh.
I thought I recognised him. Yeah. And here's another big name. Christina Hendricks plays Lois Lane. So
you're forgetting Stephen Blum.
I was gonna go on to that. So I was just gonna say that the main cast, interestingly, is actors more associated with TV, live action TV, and not voice acting. But they do have some of the big heavyweight voice actors, such as Steve Blum, who's famous for doing loads of things, including Wolverine in the cartoons. John DiGiamaro as Samson, Futurama. He's done fucking loads of things. Michael Richardson. I think he was a very minor character, Steve Labard. But yeah, he's a very big actor as well. So what do you guys think of the voice acting?
I thought it was very good, actually. Like, I felt like a couple of the voice actors weren't as good as they were in other performances, but overall, they pulled off decent performances with the script they were given and the situations that they were forced to voice with.
I like the performances in this film, but like you say, they got big heavyweight in the voice acting as the side characters, and it got distracting when I started to hear Wolverine and Bender as two Superman Superman. I don't know allies and enemies. I'm not into the lore that much, but aside from that, I enjoyed the performances.
I kind of just like focus on the characters themselves. Anybody else? I will say, I thought everybody did a fantastic job. I thought James Denton was really nailed this version of Superman. Like they casted the perfect guy to do it. Because as much as I like George Newbern or whoever he's called, and the guy from the Superman animated series,
Tim Daly.
Yeah, they're both very good at Superman, but I don't think they would have suited this role.
Yeah. I think that's because this is a more like serious role as opposed to like more of those. I haven't seen either, but I feel like those were more like focused on more like set pieces around the characters than the actual character themselves.
Yeah, it's definitely like a more humble rather than like kind of bombastic sort of Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
Shalina, do you want to say anything?
I like them as well. I think my favorite was Samson, who was played by John DiMaggio. Yes, I think he was my favorite. But yeah, I would say overall, I really liked their voice acting.
Yeah. I think it really helps like gel the film together, like the characters, like chemistry and such.
Yeah.
I can express that.
Anyone else want to say about the voice acting before we move on?
I got another thing. Steve Blum was also the voice of Shoo and Sparky in the Box Trolls. Just a little tidbit for you guys.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say that the directing is very good.
Oh yeah.
Trying like keeping the film together, but there's also quite small moments which I thought was quite clever. Two examples I can think of. There's one where Atlas and Samson are both talking to Lois, and they're either side of her, and they're trying to like compete with each other and win her affection by boasting their stories. And the way like the camera sort of like moves right to Lois is on the left of the frame and Samson's on the right, and then Atlas begins talking and he puts an arm around her, and then the camera like shifts back just to those two. I thought that was quite a clever touch. And the last thing, when Superman is flying towards the sun at the very end, it's not actually in the comic, so they didn't get the idea from that. I did have a quick peek at the end, so that they thought to add it in. There's just one moment where, as he's flying past Earth, he's flying past Mars or something. He takes one final look back at the planet, so like he kind of just turns his head. It's quite a small moment, but I think it's really like, it's quite a good way of showing that, like, Superman's like kind of saying one last goodbye without him actually saying anything.
I agree.
Yeah.